All right. Hello, everyone. I actually recorded this reflection a few weeks ago, shortly after the video came out, shortly after the objectivity reflection was posted here. But I didn't like it in hindsight. I think I just kind of went in my own direction. I think I was kind of tired that night. I think, I don't know. I just sort of went in my own direction. I didn't really talk much about the video itself, which is sort of the point of this, is to kind of go back to the video itself and sort of reflect and so on and so forth. I think in general, just before I go into it, I would say I feel like this is a video where I normally I make a video and I release it and I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever made, right? And the goal is always to do that. The goal is always for me to make something consistently better than the last thing I made, right? And here, right, there are a lot of things I'm proud of in this video that I didn't do in any other video that I'm super proud of. But I think overall, I still like the objectivity piece more. And there's a few reasons why. It could be content, it could be a lot of different things. But I think just from a pure editing, production, that kind of stamp, and in some ways writing. But I think this script is really good. Where I think going back on the objectivity one, I think that my tendency, I feel like I kind of went in the other direction sometimes. I feel like now I like telling a lot of things visually, which I really appreciate, which I'll actually go in this video and I'll show you the big example in this video where, and this is actually a tricky edit. This is actually what I credited James. I mean, Corvus helped me with the script a bit too, but James D and Corvus, they sort of talked me through this, and James's suggestion was do a split screen for this, which was very, very useful, especially with this shot where it's both characters are walking in the same way and then the moon is just there. But this one's a great example where I didn't cite any specific moon in the script, but I wanted to show a specific moon visually, because it's okay, I can give a vague example, and that's fine, because my direct support, that was my phone if you heard that, my direct support is in the visuals of the video. So if you're like, I don't believe him, well, look at the video. I'm using the visual medium intentionally. And this one actually really bugged me, because I wrote this in the script. This is one of the last things I added to the script, because I had this bad trace walking experience in the Moon Kingdom, and this is just so bad where the dude is just I'm out of moons, and then after the moon rock it's just oh, I got more. So you read this and you're oof, okay, I guess I don't need to talk to this guy ever again. But then you break the moon rock and suddenly you got to talk to him again, and it's yes, it appears on the map, but it's inconsistent and frustrating and stupid, and it's just the moons just appear there. It's that's not interesting or challenging or anything, and I just don't like it. I know a lot of people like it, but that's also kind of the point. It's where I feel one of the things I really like about this script is I'm not taking the tone of the 3D World thing where I'm right because 3D World is a good game and it's better than the other ones. It's it's not that it's not that it's better, because better is all relative. There is no better. Better is a concept, right, that people use to describe things they think are of high quality, right? But quality can mean a lot of different things. Quality can mean technical quality, right? If something is bug-free, is it perfect? It's hard to say. Mario Odyssey certainly is bug-free, and Super Mario 3D World certainly isn't bug-free, because look at the speedrun scene, right? So using that measurement for quality is sort of misguided in a way. Using fun as a measurement of quality, well, fun is different between all sorts of people. So it's going back to the sort of objectivity point of everyone's perspective and opinion is different, so you can't really evaluate something objectively. I guess this is sort of what I'm talking about, although I know that video kind of goes in a much more broader direction. So even if you agree with what I just said there, that doesn't necessarily mean you agree with the whole video, and that's fine. But we're not going to keep talking about that, because that's kind of the trap I fell into the last time I did this reflection, as I just kept talking about the objectivity piece instead of this one, probably because it's more interesting. So anyway, I showed this visually to explain my point. But with this script, I really liked how I took this tone of hey, I know people like these exploration-focused Marios. I don't. But here's a good one that I do like, and let's talk about why I like it and why you might like it too. And that was the Balloon World, right? It's here's this game, right, that tests exploration and execution and does everything that Mario does so well, just in one whole package, and I love it, and it's great. So I kind of wanted to shine a light on that, because I feel like a lot of people just don't talk about Balloon World. I feel like when 3D World came out, everyone just talked about Captain Toad, because they were like, oh, 3D World is just 3D Land 2, it's not that exciting, but this Captain Toad minigame, whoa! And it's like, Captain Toad was fun, but I freaking love 3D World, right? And that's fine, right? But I guess I just sort of felt like when I was playing Balloon World and loved it so much, I felt like, why aren't people doing that with, like, this? Because Balloon World is just such a freaking amazing addition. It's so good. Like, to me, it's the best part of Mario Odyssey, right? And I know that's not the case for everyone, but regardless of your view on Mario Odyssey, right, I feel like at least most people are going to say that Balloon World is a good time and deserves to be expanded upon. And I feel like taking that more holistic and considerate of, a considerate approach that can considerate of people's different tastes and preferences with the type of things that they enjoy in games that they play, I think really works the script's strength, rather than the 3D World, the old 3D Mario game script approach of, Mario 64 is terrible and you should regret liking it. It's like, no, you shouldn't regret liking it. If you like it, then you like it. I just don't, So I guess that's why I really like this script. But with the editing on this, I feel like a lot of the edits, especially early on, just sort of fell into my lap, and I'm really, really proud of them. But they just sort of happened. Like, I didn't go out of my way to make things happen, I guess is what I'm saying. It was like, See, I said I was tired last time, and I'm tired now too. It's like, here, the thing fades to black, and it's beautiful because I wanted to show this. This is perfect. This is the exact opening shot I wanted. And then it fades to black, and I'm like, perfect, because we're about to talk about Super Mario World, so we'll just fade up from black into Super Mario World. Then we have this Mario 64 business pop right up, right? And it's like the opening of Mario 64 has this doo-doo, and it comes from black. So it's like, what if we just chroma keyed out the black, right? Because a lot of people don't know this. You can chroma key out any color you want. The reason why most people use green is because not a lot of things are green. I mean, outside the grass is green, and then there are also people that use like blue screens, right, as an alternative. But most people have found that blue is generally more prevalent than green, because like the sky is blue. A lot of people wear blue shirts, blue things, blue walls. You don't see green walls that much, not like chroma key green walls that much. So really, all you got to deal with is someone's shirt, or if someone dyes their hair green, which has happened. I've seen it before. And it's not like bad looking. I mean, if you got the right person, it looks good, but it's just funny when they're in front of a green screen, half their head's gone. But either way, here, because on this digital situation, right, like the only black thing was the background, so you can just chroma key it out. It's like, yeah, so you can chroma key out anything. Like if I go over here and I want to key out the green in this, then I just go thump, and now I keyed out the green in that. We're not going to do that. But you can key out any color. I can key out the yellow, key out whatever, key out the freaking anything. So, but if I keyed out the black here, right, then what would happen is all the outlines on all the characters except for this Koopa would be gone, and the shadow and the Super Mario, like a lot more would be gone. So it doesn't work there, but it works here because nothing else is black. That's how chroma keying works. Pretty simple, I guess, when you think of it from a hex code standpoint. Basically, like what chroma keying is, it says, here's this screen, we're going to take this whatever this color is, in this case the black, which is 0000000, but we're just going to take the hex value of this and just get rid of it. And then based on how big your sample is, and it's going to take a wider range of hex values, right? So it's going to say, we're going to take from we're going to take from 00FF00, which is pure green, to 008800, which would be like a slightly darker green, and then you just take that range. I don't know. So that's kind of the idea behind it anyway. Computer scientists who actually code the chroma keyer in video editing software, feel free to correct me. Not that I'm expecting you to watch this video. So then we have like this happen, and then it comes up and it's like cool. And then when you hit start in Super Mario 64, it goes to this white screen. So it's like, of course we'll use this white screen to transition to an actual level. Like, of course we would. That makes so much sense. Then we have this business, and then freaking just by sheer happenstance, Mario freaking dies right as I'm about to talk about Super Mario World again. So it's like, of course we'll use the transition of him dying to just transition back to Super Mario World, which I do. And then the clip of Super Mario World I just happened to pick for no reason. He happens to hit a message block that I can just use to just transition back to Mario 64. Now here's mistake number one. I originally had it so it came out of the center of the screen, right? Which is how it works in Super Mario World. But I got the suggestion from Dennis, which is a very good suggestion, to have it come out of the message block, right? Which is really cool idea because it's like a bit like you associate it more. Problem is Mario World doesn't do that, and I left the frames in where the message block pops up. So you see these like 3-4 frames of black here, which is not very good. The solution to that would have been just to hold this frame where there is no black and just max it out there, but I didn't do that, so that kind of was screwy. But like you would just go over here and you just go like Option F, and then problem solved. Literally just solved it. Oh wait, no I didn't. I need to go back one more frame to that frame. Option F. Oops. Ooh, we're getting there. We're working on it. It's that frame. I literally don't need to fix this. The video is already out, but I'm doing it anyway. Did I screw it up again? I screwed it up again. Whatever. You get the point. You get what I need to do. But then I was like, oh, have it come out of the message block. It's great. So like this whole like 40-second, however long it is, span was like just like beautiful transitions. Like that's just how it should be every time, right? Because so I probably should have said this before, but you know, we're doing it unscripted. We're not super organized today. My big beef, right? If I had a beef with video game analysis on the internet, it's the editing, right? And the reason why I have beef with the editing is because if you just jump cut all the time, I mean, this is what I used to do, right, too? If you jump cut all the time, then I personally find it distracting because you're not creating a narrative between the actual shots themselves, right? If you're like watching a movie, right, and there's a cut, right, like hang on, I'm just gonna freaking open up my 8th grade video or something. Let's do that real quick. I gotta go over here and type this shit in. MML 8th grade. Because this is just the easiest example I can think of. I expected that to work. I expected that to work, and it didn't work. Wow. There it is. So here's an example of my own thing, which is kind of, you know, kind of self-aggrandizing, but like right here, right? Like this is the easiest example because it's so basic. Is we start on a shot of me walking here, right? And then we cut to another shot of me walking here. And the key is that between these two shots, I'm still walking in the same direction, and I'm still walking in a place where you can realistically believe that this next shot is a continuation of the previous shot, even if, which is true, they were shot in completely different parts of the park. But the point is that you don't know that because I'm still walking to the left, so your eyes are following me to the left. Ideally, right, you wouldn't have to jump back to the right side of the screen, but it kind of works as like we gotta keep moving to the left, so it kind of works in that sense. But the narrative of me walking to the left is what's important there. So I keep walking to the left from this frame to this frame, and that tells you, oh, he's continuing to walk in this direction. What is in that direction? What's over here? And then you keep going to the next thing, and then it's now he's in here. Where is that? This was in the same location of the frame as over here. It was this is the point of interest, and then you go over here, and then okay, it's a little off. Really, this should be the point of interest again in a perfect world, but you know, if we're being super, super perfect. The idea is that you want the narrative to be consistent between shots. And my big beef is that in video games, a lot of the time, your shots are always the same. You're always Mario. You're always walking through here, right? So if you're cutting from one location to a different location, then that's just a pure jump cut because you're not creating that narrative that I was talking about. Like, cuts aren't a problem. Jump cuts arguably are a problem. Now, there's one key part of this I'm leaving out, which is the fact that internet video uses jump cuts all the time. And the reason why internet video uses jump cuts all the time is because it in a similar situation to video games, right? A lot of early internet video had people recording their face on face cams from their laptop or whatever, right? So if you don't have a place to cut to, then all you can do to save time is just do a jump cut, just cut out a period of time, right? It's the only solution you have. If you can't cut to a different camera because there is no other camera, then your only option is to just jump cut, just cut to a future point in time, right? Ideally, if there were two cameras in the room and you took time to like breathe or whatever, then you could just cut to a different camera at a slightly later point in time. And, given that, hoping that your hands are in a similar enough location and that you're not completely in a different position, you can probably find a frame as an editor that, would make it look as if there was no gap in between. But when there's a jump cut, you're basically bringing attention to the fact that you are cutting. And I guess I just don't really like that. And I'm not saying that's a bad, like a lot of people do it, and it's like literally most people do it. But that's my beef, and that's why I'm use so many transition heavy edits with my video game stuff, is because of the fact that I don't like the feel of a jump cut in like video gamey kind of stuff, because it doesn't create that narrative where I always like to kind of flow from one opinion to the next. That way it's like this constant narrative in the same way that the essay is a constant development on the prior point, right? I don't want there to be a hard cut. I don't want there to be that sort of jump cut situation unless I'm deliberately trying to, separate an idea or separate something, you know what I mean? And usually a fade out and fade back in does a better job at that, in my opinion, right? But and I know that that's just me. I know that, like, at the end of the day, the jump cut is the easier thing to do, for one. And I'm not saying that as an insult, right? I'm not saying that that's the easier thing to do, like, oh, that's worse because it's easy. I'm saying that it's easier in the sense that you can make a longer video quicker. So if you want your focus to be on the writing, right, then jump cuts are probably fine because most people aren't paying attention to your visuals that much anyway. If that's your style, if that's what you're going for, that's fine. A lot of people go for the more podcasty approach to video making, where I want to be super involved in the visual part because that's what I do for a living now. So I guess I care about it a lot. So I like when I had these sort of opportunities early on just kind of fall into my lap, because what you want to do, right, is some of the problems with my earlier transition heavy edits is they were distracting, right? It was like, instead of picking a transition that didn't distract people, that made it that seamless kind of thing that I'm talking about, I picked a transition that like made it more obvious that I was separating ideas or something like that. I would use like there's this transition over here called flow, which is basically it's an optical flow based on colors. And the way it works, I think it's called a morph cut in Premiere, if I remember properly. But the idea behind it is that it basically, I think I talked about this in the Danganronpa video because I used it a lot there, which in hindsight, I shouldn't have used it a lot there, right? But that's sort of the interesting thing with these videos too, is that I'm sure my take on something changes over time, but I didn't use that much here because it's super distracting. But basically what it would do is it would take, okay, this color value, let's see where we can find a blue in here, right? So, and it's weird on this one because it's going to white, but let's just say we're going from this shot to this shot. It's like, oh, we'll take this blue over here and morph it into freaking Mario's overalls, and then take the red from his hat and morph it over here because this is kind of red or something. And it would just kind of like do this weird like kind of slide morphy business to sort of optically flow it into the next shot, which is really cool, but it should be used very rarely, to be honest. But once again, all this is super subjective. I mean, I'm the one who made a video saying everything is, so I don't know why I'm clarifying that. So anyway, so then we go over here. And so the next, like, you know, in terms of like creating this sort of visual narrative, right? I just draw a line in the middle of the screen because I say there's a line between, do I actually say there's a line? Wait, hang on. It would be really nice if 3D Mario games could be cleanly split or something like that, cleanly slotted. So I draw this line and then I slide them in. But the cool thing is I have this like, I like these little tiny visual details that a lot of people don't pick up on or won't pick up on. Like I had the text open slide in the supposedly open world Mario games, and I had the linear text supposedly slide in the linear Mario games, right? And then I changed the text as it slides in from the top to open world like and linear-ish, I think, because it's like, okay, well, are these really open world games? The answer is no. Mario 64 is a super linear game at times. And then there's no real open worldness to either of these. They're very linear. It's get to the shine, and then you get to the star, get to the shine, and then you exit the level. The difference is you go back in the same level like 20 times. Well, not 20 times, but you know what I mean. Where Mario Odyssey is more open world-like, but even then, it's still restricted to very specific levels. Those levels don't connect in like a Jak and Daxter sense. So it's you know, all of these I would say are very open world like. They're not pure open world because there are a lot of linear segments in them, which is kind of what I was talking about. Where here, you could say they're linear Mario games, but Mario Galaxy shares a lot in common with 64 and Sunshine. You go back to levels a lot, and Galaxy 2 very similarly, right? So it's like calling these linear Mario games and not calling these linear Mario games is really just predicated on the fact that the worlds are slightly bigger in this one, and you can go off the beaten path a bit easier, but at the end of the day, you're still going in that straight line. And that's kind of the point I'm making in this part of the video. So it's like, okay, you slot these in, and then you go over here, and then what I do is you have that, and then I kind of, because I named these, I just sort of go whoop, and whoop, and whoop, and now we've covered up the whole frame. So now everything below this we don't need to worry about anymore at all. So technically, all of this under here can go away. The reason why I left it is because of the audio, because I didn't separate the audio. The audio is still in the background. So we go through here, and then what we do is we make this awesome Super Mario 3D Land transition situation over here. I built that in Apple Motion. I talked a lot about making motion projects in the objectivity reflection, if I remember properly. But the way this works is the way motion really is compatible with Final Cut Pro. Because a lot of people complain that motion, right, isn't super compatible with Final Cut Pro in the way that, say, After Effects is compatible with Premiere, in the sense that you can just drag in an After Effects project into Premiere and it just works. The way that motion is compatible with Final Cut is that a lot of the effects or generators or titles or things like that, what you can do is you can just right-click and say, oh, not that one. You can say, open a copy in motion. And not the case with all of them, right? Because some of them, like the optical flow, that's just coding. Like that just wasn't built in motion. But a lot of these were built in motion. So you can open a copy of it in motion, see how it was built in motion to some degree, and then sort of edit it and change it and do what you want to do with it. And you can also open motion and make a transition from scratch and then just throw it into the folder, and then it'll appear here. So then, and that's how I do a lot of things with like text, for example. So if I go in here and I go to like the lower thirds, no, not lower thirds. I mean, I have big titles. I don't know why this is. I don't know why this is under big titles, honestly. I should just rename this to custom, because this is all my custom titles. This one was a cutout that I used for the 8th grade video, because the cutout, the original cutout had this weird zoom thing going on. I just wanted the text to just be there cut out, and it was much easier to do it that way than to do it with blend modes in Final Cut itself. It was just easier to build it as a title in motion. And then similarly, like here, I just have things type on. So I can build the things in motion and then just use them in Final Cut without having to make it in motion and export it every single time. The idea is you make this sort of template that Final Cut can use. So this fold up, anyway, is a transition that I built in Apple Motion, and it is right here. And literally all I did was I took the fall one, this fall one, and I just reversed it and then changed the keyframe locations. That way it felt like it was really like you know, like a thwoomph, as opposed to like a slow, like weird thing. Because the whole thing here is that with the fall, it starts really, really slow and then speeds up, right? Or with a 3DS or something like that, you kind of flip it up and then it just kind of snaps into place. So you don't need that really slow. You don't really need that slow thing. You just kind of need it to stop when it snaps into place. So it goes click and it snaps into place, and it's great. I love it. So then you go through 3D land, another smooth transition situation, and this we have a blur, right? And then the thing is that after this point, just because I keep talking about the same games all the time, I didn't really have many opportunities for those like smooth transitions. So what you want to do in those kind of situations, at least what I've kind of figured out I'm doing for myself, I love that. Oh, not this. I love this. That I had this just come out of the bottom of that, and I like that a lot. What I do is I set up a narrative, basically. Like, what you want to do, right? Like I said, you want the transitions to be as seamless as possible. You want to create a narrative through your editing, right? So if we're doing that, then basically anytime I'm going between things in Odyssey, I do this same sideways wipe, the diagonal wipe, every single time. And all that means is I'm just going to a different part of the same game, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like, it's not like this has some thematic meaning or anything, but it's just a nice, sleek little transition that you would see in a game or see anywhere. Could I have a freaking Mario hat go across? Sure, but I would find that probably a little bit distracting every single time between every single shot. So this is quick, it's sleek, it just goes by, and it's out of your way, and it's not super distracting. When we're going between different games, what I do is I just do this blur situation. And that just basically is just the signal for switching to a different game. So over time, by the time you get another minute in or so, you begin to associate those two things with what they are. And this isn't a thing where you like consciously think about it. Like, if you watch this video, you probably didn't even consciously think about it, but your brain just kind of associates it with what it is. So it helps you kind of subconsciously digest the message I'm trying to get across visually a little bit better, which is sort of the whole goal of editing. The whole goal of editing is to tell the story that you're given as effectively as possible. So that's sort of what I tried to do. I feel like I kept going back and forth on whether I should do the blur, because I don't know. I feel like you do a wipe is much more of like a hard, solid, that was my phone again, hard, solid, like, oomph, here's two different things, you know? But it worked within the context of Odyssey, because Odyssey wasn't a game that used a lot of like crossfadey stuff. It was very much like, you know, a lot of like hat circle outs and circle ins, like, and very hard edges on things. Like, that's the visual design of it. So it's like, I wouldn't want to do like a weird crossfade situation because it wouldn't feel natural to the game. So that's why I do like this wipe situation. But when you're going like this, it almost feels like it's like a weaker transition. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know. I feel like I could have done something different, but I kept going back and forth and I ended up just sticking with this directional blur. So most of the rest of the edit is kind of that, which is why like I was fine like going through it kind of linearly. There are bits where like, okay, you know, we fade to black here, we do a circle out there, so that way we can do the hat out there, which just transitions right into the level, which I wanted to show the level. So sometimes you do things like that for the sake of like easy visual digesting instead of doing the same, you know, wipes every single time. So it's just about making kind of smart decisions based on things. So like with this, for example, like I don't just cut to the split screen, right? I slide it over. So that way you're being introduced to the idea of there being a split screen. Or when we go and bring in the letterboxing for where is it? Yeah, it's this. So like you basically bring in the letterboxes like that. I don't like this transition that much. I feel like it's kind of weird and sloppy in a way, but it works. It's effective. So it serves its purpose, I guess. Not my favorite transition, but yeah, I guess that's really what that is. I like this bit too. I basically, like, this is kind of a sloppy transition when you look at it frame by frame. It just goes like that, you know? and that looks kind of dumb. But if you look at the actual ending of the game, it's just as sloppy. And the key is, right, the thing you have to remember with a lot of these things is that stuff's always in motion, so it looks clean in motion. It doesn't have to look good frame by frame necessarily, as long as it looks good in motion. So it's sort of a thing you got to remember with the editing thing. Is like, yeah, I can go frame by frame and pick apart this message box thing and say this looks stupid. And the reason why I could say it looks stupid is because when you look at it in motion, and once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? It looks bad in motion too, right? So that means that that's a bad edit. Whereas over here, with this little situation here, like, yeah, it looks kind of sloppy-ish frame by frame, but that's okay because in motion it looks fine. It looks like it's a smooth thing, and if you go into the footage of the freaking game, the end of the game does the same thing. I was trying to figure out how the end of the game did it, and so I just looked at it, and it's like the end of the game does it the exact same way. So once I figured that out, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it this way because that's the game does it. That is footage number 16. 16? No. 14. 15. 14. 14. So you go over here to the hat toss at the end of the game, and it's like do 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 do, and then it goes hat toss, hat toss, hat toss, hat toss, hat toss. And it goes from that shot to this. So this is like even more of a jump. And that's how the game does it. So it's like if the game does it this way, then I can certainly get away with doing it this way and it looks fine. Especially because like this shot, the hat almost fills the entire frame. So it's like, oof. And like, yeah, I could do a little crossfade, but that could also look more distracting. So, and it's like, that's how the end of the game does it. That's how I'm going to do it. That's an important thing to remember too when you get nitpicky with like going frame by frame like this, is that it might look good in motion, so just don't worry about it. This I built in Apple Motion just to replicate the thing of the game. I had a little bit of a drop shadow because that's how the game does it too, even though I don't like using drop shadows that much if I can help it. A lot of these things, right, are just personal preference things. It's like, I don't like using drop shadows. Doesn't mean you can't use drop shadows. I don't like putting borders on my text, but there are a lot of circumstances where putting borders in text might be a smart thing to do. Because I do it at work a decent amount. At my job. I love this. I love this so much. I love this a lot. And I just love it. I didn't build the text box from scratch. I took the text box from a image that already existed, the meme, and all I did was I just changed its color correction and its blend mode and its opacity and a few other things to make sure that the background of the game here is the background of the footage here. That is it. So I did not build that from scratch. I fully admit to being lazy with that one, but it looks fine. Yeah, it looks fine. No issues. With that. What else? What else? What else? What else? I want to see if there's anything with the balloon thing. 'Cause I feel like I did some stuff there that was like kind of fun. So you select a balloon from a menu, and I'm already here, and then I do a zoom out. I could have done a cut out, but since I'm not really doing many cuts in this whole video at all, it was like, let's just not. And then this was me barely missing the balloon, and I was super pissed about it, and it was great. This is Koopa races. I feel like there's a point where that's what I did there. That's what I was wondering. I was wondering how I handled that one, but that's what I did. I remember now. It's been a minute since I've seen this video in full. But that balloon, that balloon, that balloon. I could have done a cut with something like that, right? Because you're deliberately using the word that to like separate the three ideas. But once again, I just don't like using jump cuts that much, even though it's a part of internet culture. It's just a part of internet video. So it's not, like I said, jump cuts, not a bad thing. I just don't like them. Yeah. what I did, how did I do this? Oh, this was just the end of the freaking thing. Never mind. That I didn't do anything with that. Yeah, that was, I'm trying to think of what else, but I think that's pretty much it for this. I had a good time with this video, but like I said, it's not like my favorite video of all time. This is obviously a cut, but it's like, it's not a jump cut because I'm cutting to me outside. Like I could have done like a zoom out from the freaking Switch and pan over, but you really need multiple people to do that, for one, and two, it'd probably be a sloppy move anyway. It's just better to just cut. Cutting is not a problem. It's jump cuts I have a problem with, like I said. So yeah, I don't know. I overall, I'm proud of this video. I still like the one before this more. Although honestly, like, I say that, and I don't know, there's a lot of reasons why, right? I think it's just because the content of that video it just means a decent chunk to me, just because it's sort of the like crux of my entire like time in school, journalism major, that whole thing. Like I would be in classes talking with people about disclosure all the time, and I'd be in news editing classes and getting in debates, you know, friendly debates with students, and like some people would agree with me and some people would not agree with me. Some teachers agree with me, some teachers disagree with me, but that was sort of the cool thing about how my school handled that major. Was it's like we're in a really unique time in journalism where it's like, you know, what do you do? Like, how do you handle things in this social media driven online world? So it's like you get into those debates and they're super interesting. So I think making that video, even though I think I know I would do things very differently. Well, not very differently, but I would add things. If I were making the video today, I think with this video, this Mario Odyssey video, like, I'm happy with the script. I'm super happy it turned out. Obviously, there is like that one mistake I pointed out, and I'm sure there's others that I just didn't catch or don't remember. But I think my big thing, really, like when it comes down to it, is I just didn't. There's nothing ambitious about this video. And I like being ambitious. I like having fun and challenging myself. That's why I kind of do this as a hobby and can never do it full time, is because I like challenging myself. So I'm very excited for my next video because it's going to be challenging in its own way. And you know, I keep writing scripts, so it's sort of just like, I don't know. It's sort of like when you write a script and you finish the script and work on a video, it's like, okay, well, what can you do with it? And sometimes you just can't really be ambitious with it. Not every video has to be your freaking Michelangelo chapel or whatever. That's a weird one. I could have just said your Mona Lisa, but you know, I just decided to go with the Michelangelo chapel this time. But yeah, I don't know. I like this video. It's good. But I guess I'm just not like, whoa, I can't believe I did that. It was so freaking good. But I'm okay with that. I also think that there's a point where there's the 80-20 rule element where it's like, okay, you know, you keep striving to get better, and it's important to keep striving to get better, right? But you also have to recognize that once you get to a certain point, and I'm not saying I'm at that point yet, because I genuinely do not believe I am at that point, but, you know, the closer you get to, like, you know, what some might say is perfection, I don't think perfection's possible. But you know, some people do. But I guess the closer you get to whatever perfection is, then the less payoff you're gonna see. In the sense that it's not like, you know, your videos get dramatic. Your videos or your art or whatever you make is gonna be dramatically better when you're going from you know, let's say that perfect exists, right? In the event where perfect exists and perfect is 100%, then let's say, like, if you go from a 95 to a 96, it's still a freaking fantastic thing that you made. So it's like, when you go from 95 to 96, you know, how much improvement is that? And the answer is it's, you know, it's a lot in the sense that you probably put a lot more time to get from the 95 to the 96 than you did getting from 80 to 90. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. You know, as you get closer to what you or someone or anyone could deem as being perfect, the more nitpicky you have to be. The less obvious the quote unquote errors, you know, and sometimes they're like legit things that I regret or I had a mistake in, which like this message box is that isn't, I wouldn't call that an objective mistake, but I would call that something that I personally regret and therefore is a mistake. Where other things are far more, you know, based on personal preference, right? But like going back to like that hat transition, right? And then I swear I'm gonna freaking stop talking eventually. Back to that hat transition, right? Like I could spend like hours, like, you know, making in between frames or trying to make it look more smooth, because there is this kind of awkward zoom situation. Like it zooms back and then I do a zoom into the hat and it looks kind of weird. And the reason why is because the hat only goes out so far, so I zoom into the hat and that looks kind of weird. What I could do is I could like legit like grab the hat and then go through all the cycles of it and then kind of push it forward more and then like, you know, have it smoothly change color into this color and all that. And it's like, okay, you could do that. And honestly, like the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, maybe I should have done that, right? But the thing is that's, you know, we're talking at least 5 more hours of work for what's ultimately going to be something that a lot of people don't really notice. And that's okay, you know, and it's okay that people won't notice that. And if you're proud of it, if that's what you want to do, then go for it. You know what I mean? Like I love, I mean, if the freaking text over here or the little visual goof with the Koopa the Quick isn't obvious enough, I like hiding my little visual things. Or the freaking end screen of the Danganronpa video that most people don't know what the visual goof is in there because they can't freaking see it because it's like too opacity. But it's there, and once you see it, you can't unsee it, but it's there. So it's like, I like doing stuff like that. So it's like, okay, but at some point, it's like, okay, you're going to work how much harder to get such little payback off of it. Where's that line? Where do you draw it? And so I think with a video like this, it's like, okay, if I wanted to go like way off the wall, if I came up with some crazy idea, which I didn't have a crazy idea, so that's why I didn't do anything. But if I had some crazy idea, it's possible that would have delayed the video by another 2 months. And how much better would the video be because of it? Would people really care that I did some like live action thing, or would they rather just see gameplay? And it's hard to make those decisions. It's hard to make those calls when as a creative person you want to constantly challenge yourself and push yourself and so on and so forth. But sometimes you don't need to do that. And so I think this video is an example of something like, okay, I did a good job with it. I'm proud of it. You know, I have my nitpicks, I have my criticisms, I have the things that I can learn from with this experience. But you know, I'm still more proud of other videos that I have made, and I'm okay with that. And maybe the next video will be my best video editor ever. Maybe it won't. But there was a time, you know, back in, you know, early 2018, late 2017, where I don't think I could have tolerated hitting this point. I don't think I could have tolerated making a video that I didn't like as much as the video I made before it. Today I'm fine with that. And I think it's just because I'm happy with the overall like style and feel that I go for with all of my videos. So as long as I hit that, then I hit the standard of quality at least that I'm like really accepting of. And then it's just a matter of how much I want to challenge myself past that, which is why I did the season 2 thing to begin with. I think that once I finished the 8th grade video, I was like, I kind of know what kind of vibe I want to go for, what kind of style I want to hit, and so on and so forth. So I was like more than satisfied with what I was doing enough to say, let's make this season 2, let's make it more consistent in terms of feel. So I have no idea how long I've been talking. Let's go into freaking Adobe Audition to find out. Because like the last one, how long have I been talking? Has this been 40 freaking minutes? Are you kidding me? Wow. This is longer than the last reflection. But I mean, at least we talked about the actual video this time. I mean, I did touch on the objectivity piece again, but like, I mean, I'm good with this. I'm gonna put this one up, and you know, obviously you're hearing this, so that means I put this one up. Yeah. So I'm gonna go now because this is freaking way too long. is death grips. Goodbye.